So you may be wondering why I'm wearing the exact same clothes as last time, and that's because I forgot to post for the thumbnail there. So we're just gonna do it now and pretend like I actually post for the thumbnail. Hello, this is Ingrid and welcome to my WinterBookLand. Two quick things before we actually start. You may have noticed that the light is a little bit more yellow-like today, and that's because I have planned to film this entire weekend, and the snow has finally arrived here in Norway, so I can't find any time of day that it's actually light enough outside, because it's just snowing all the time and it's just like this grey sky, so I can't find a proper time to film, and I need to film it on the weekend, so here we are. And if you hear this kind of clicking sound and then just this sound of a heating oven, is that what you call it? Yeah, whatever. Turning on, and then the lights will also flicker a bit. Just so you know, it's because my room is halfway cold, halfway warm right now, and I don't want to shut off my own heating. But yeah, today we're going to talk about annotating in books, and the first time I told my sister that I annotate my books, she got this kind of funny expression, because I am very a purist in the way that I want my books to look perfect on the outside, but I make them as messy as possible on the inside when I annotate. The thing about me is that I annotate in two different ways, depending on what I want out of the book. So we're going to go through those two different ways, and I'm also going to show you the first book that I've ever annotated in each way. So the first technique we're going to talk about is my analytic kind of annotating, and that's the kind of annotating I use when I want to properly review a book and give a coherent review of it. So I'm just gonna walk you through my things that I use when I annotate in this way. The thing is that you need, especially if you have ADHD or something, you need to be able to have this designated notebook for writing reviews. Yeah, see. So this is the notebook that I use. You can see, the only review I've done so far is The Picture of Dorian Gray, so that's what I'm going to use as an example. But just the thing about me is that I write down every little detail that can be important and analyzed, and of course the things that interest me. Also a little bit of advice is that if you find quotes that you want to take up in the video or talk about in review, you can just write them up in the margins and stuff like that, so that they don't get mixed in with some of the thoughts you have around the book. But of course your notes should only be about what interests you and what you notice about the book. I'm going to take up the book as an example already. So this is my annotated version of The Picture of Dorian Gray. Oh my god, am I in focus? So here we have my annotated version of The Picture of Dorian Gray. So you can see all of the different tabs here. I use these ones. The colors don't mean anything on this. It's just put a color down where something interesting happens, and also spread the colors evenly out amongst the pages to make it look pretty. That's what I was going for with this. And there's not really much to say. It's just that when you annotate in this way, don't hold yourself back while putting tabs in. Just put tabs in things you want to remember, things you find interesting, because there's no stopping to when you want to find these specific things and stuff like that. So, and then of course the most important and interesting part about annotating is of course marking up the different sentences and things you find interesting in the book itself. And this is where we're going to upset a lot of book purists, because my version of Dorian Gray looks like this most of the time. because I found so many things interesting in this book. The thing is, you don't always have to use just color. Sometimes you just can just write in the margins. Mostly what I wrote in the margins of my like analytic reviews is like when I notice the theme of the book, or I notice some important plot point or something like that that I want to remember, that I can go back to and look at. So like you can write it down in the book as well, but it's just fun to express your thoughts in your book, because I feel like it gets a lot more personal when you actually write in your own book and talk about it there. I use these markers mainly because they're pastels and I really like pastel colors. So like they're not very, like they're not that expensive, I think. The thing about markers though is that you have to make sure of the intensity and how much they'll bleed through the page, like in comparison to how thick the pages are. Because for example, you can see here it's bled through a little, but that's because I was more careful. But in the first few pages I didn't realize how much the markers actually bled through, and it's created like some confusing and some like little uncomfortable bleed throughs. Like for example, here I marked blue or turquoise, whatever you want, on this page, and it's bled through a lot through this page. So just be aware of that. And you know, it also looks pretty cool, the fact that like you've just marked over things in your book and like there's tabs sticking out everywhere, and you feel like kind of an intellectual for having a book that is so, oh my god, that is so like used and like so propped full of your thoughts and emotions while reading the book. So that was my analytical way. And the thing about taking notes when you annotate is that you don't have to be cohesive in the way you write them. If you write on a computer, fine, then you can kind of try to section them off. But when you are reading the book, just write down what you experience in that moment just under the next thing, and then you can make it more cohesive and put it in order afterwards. Because like trying to put it in order while you read can really disturb you while you work. And of course these analytical reviews tend to lean more towards finding plots and themes of the book, and also like interesting plot points, and like that being the main focus, which stands in stark contrast. Oh my god, why can't I speak English? So I'm just taking out everything I need. I don't know how I'm going to manage to pack all this down again. Then we can go over to the more emotional aspect of annotating. So for this example we're going to use Math by Sarah J. Maas because it was the first book I ever annotated. Why, you can ask, did you start with a book that's 600 pages long and is also written by an author who is famous for like not making sense in her stories? Because I love Math. It is one of my favorite books, and like the emotional like depth of the characters, I just find it really like fun to read. I've also annotated The Raven Boys in this kind of way, and I'm planning on annotating Captive Prince like this, but we'll see, because I have some other books that I also want to annotate in this way. This kind of annotating is very color specific. So I'll just walk you through each color that I have and how I use them to annotate. And like there are a lot of colors here, but that's because I have so many extras. Okay, so here, 1, 2, 3. So when you annotate in this way, it's smart to have like a flat surface that you can just write on, or lay like your color specifics down, so it gets easier to pick them up and just use them. Why is there a red here? Sorry. So I have everything that I use to annotate like this pushed into this little pouch here, and like it barely gets in everything I have. So yeah, like if you annotate like this, find some small container or something that has everything you need for the annotating, so when you decide to annotate you don't have to like run around the entire house to find things. And also I have this little note in my like bag, so that if I haven't annotated in a long time I can remember like the colors of the pens but also the tabs that I use. So we're just gonna start with the pink pen I use for things that I love or romantic moments. The blue one I use for sad moments or moments that like make me feel things. The orange pen is either things that the author has written that makes me angry or character actions or like lines that make me angry. The green one is for funny things, things that actually make me laugh. The purple one is for cool quotes that I want to remember, and you can tell like this one died when I was annotating the Raven Boys because I had underlined so many things. The yellow one is for, oh my god, the yellow one is for interesting things about the world building or things that I think may be important to the plot that I just want to like mark up, like here is something that could be important. Turquoise is for cute moments, and of course since I started kind of annotating with Acomath, I have a deep pink for kind of, you know, intimate moments that are actually written well, because Sarah Maas has a good mix of these in her books. And of course last we have a black pen for when I want to like scribble down my thoughts and stuff like that. These pens don't bleed easily through the page except for the dark purple, and as you can tell it's because it's a dark color. So if you want to annotate in this way, this more emotional way, when you underline things based on what you feel about them, I would recommend going for very light colors so that they don't bleed through the page easily. So the thing about underlining with pens is that I tried actually to start with A Darker Shade of Magic, a book that I didn't like. I am very sure that I annotated this book, but apparently I haven't, so I'm just imagining things. You know, that's fun. So I tried to do it without rulers and it went horribly wrong, as you can imagine. Always use rulers when you underline things when annotating. So the thing that I do is that, of course, since I buy my books from overseas, I have a lot of bookmarks that come with Book Depository, because Book Depository always sends bookmarks with your books. So I have a lot of those that I can use to like just place, and then I can just use them as rulers because I don't have a ruler that fits in this. So I just use these bookmarks and like they work fine. Of course I used to use these paper-like bookmarks, but they kind of just went bad after a while because like the ink sinks into the bookmark and creates these kind of lines. So where it's used most heavily there's like a bump, so there is going to be a bump in the underlining. So just be careful if you use these kind of rulers or these kind of bookmarks as rulers, because like they might tire easily. And then we can get a full tray and not the one that's like nearly destroyed. We have the tabs, and here are like tabs that I use, and now I actually need to find my note because I can't remember what the colors are because I haven't annotated in a long time. Here like the tabs are very different, or like some of them are very different from what the pen colors are. So like that might may be confusing to some other people. I have like my, at least in this book I just have the annotating colors written down. But in like later books and stuff I have the tabs colors also written down, so that like someone who finds this book when I'm long gone may understand what I meant by all this color. So the green one is something I dislike in plot, writing or development. Things that I can notice are wrong in the writing, or things that I just feel are just done wrong Of course, it's not like, oh, you did this wrong, it's just things that I didn't like about the plot. I'm trying to find an example here, but like this book is so big that it's sliding down from my knee. Yeah, for example, here I have a green tab written down for an exposition dump, and of course the entire exposition dump is underlined in yellow because it's important, but it's still an exposition dump. And the one thing that I also do, like this is going to be a mess of a video, is double underlining. So here we have yellow and orange underlined like under each other. It's just when you have a lot of feelings, make it more cohesive or like appropriate to your... Okay, we're just gonna move on because like that sentence isn't going to go anywhere. So we have the purple tab, which is for dialogue, and of course this is dialogue that is pretty and not like bad, because there's a difference when you go into the book expecting it to be bad, and when you go into it expecting like to be impressed or liking the actual book. So you of course have to make your color specific to what you want to comment on in the book. So here we of course have dialogue between characters or a quote from a character. The pink one is for things I love or romance scenes that I find very cute. The yellow one is for scenes or character actions that I hate or dislike. And blue is for all the feels. Moments that just break you. They may be happy or sad. And also one of the major things about me is that I don't like to have the spines of my books bent. Like, I don't like them to be bent. So of course that was a problem while annotating this book. I have a few bends down here, but they are very not mainly noticeable. So you know, that's fun. One of the other things about annotating this kind of way is that you also can draw in the book. And like for example here we have a drawing from in my Ecomath. It is very beautiful. Some of my best artwork to date, I think. You have to remember that this is like the first book I ever annotated. So like I'm kind of in the beginner stage when I'm... so I also have other like small things up here. The thing about annotating in like the kind of emotional way is that you can do as many things as you want. You can have as much fun as you want. Like, go wild, like deface your book, make it like messy, write like all around the sentences and in the margins and make it impossible to understand what is actually said on the page, because it's your book and you can do that because like it's fun and it's entertaining to you, and it makes the book more yours. So yeah, do that. So yeah, that was a little explanation about my annotating, how I annotate my books, and like I hope you can like take suggestions from this and like try to organize your own way of annotating if you want to. If you found something interesting, please tell me in the comments. You can also leave a like if you found something interesting, and subscribe if you like the general mood that I have on this channel. And we will meet again in my next video. I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you in my next video. Okay. Okay, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye.